Recording. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the bi-weekly SIG API Machinery meeting for Kubernetes. Today is November 4th of 2020. We have 3 topics in our agenda, and then I will open up to any question in case we have. And trying to be mindful of everybody's time, I will go directly to Kevin, our first topic of today. Kevin, it's all yours. Let me know if you want me to open any. Well, I will open these documents if you want me to go to any section in particular.
Sure. Yeah. So just to give an introduction of what we're talking about here. Currently our controllers start informers but are unable to stop them. Controllers start informers by passing a stop channel that when closed will shut it down, but there's no condition by which the informer can shut itself down. And this has some unintended consequences. A big one is that dynamic informers are unable to stop themselves when the CRD they are watching is uninstalled. And so this has been brought up in a bug that I post in the background section of this doc. And basically, the issue there is that one of the issues that arises because of this is that the kube controller manager via the resource quota and garbage collection controllers creates log spam as it continuously 404s, retrying list and watches on resources that will never exist. And hypothetically, one could create and delete enough CRDs to the API server. And so that issue is there, and there's a lot of community feedback trying to get that fixed. And another kind of motivation that we see for fixing this is that this greatly inhibits the control that operators and custom controllers have over the lifecycle of their controllers. And so there are desired use cases around that don't fit the kind of the model that this was built on, that the admin of a controller is necessarily the admin of the cluster. And so controller admins, in a sense, they have little control over which resources are installed and uninstalled. And so ideally they'd have a way to run a controller that tells the controller to shut down informers for resources that don't exist, or create a new informer when the resource is reinstalled. And so kind of what we're proposing here is a new method on the shared informer that runs the informer and passes options that indicate what conditions should trigger the informer to shut down, such as when the list and watch and the reflector fails, with a 404 indicating that the CRD has been uninstalled. And so this creates an opt-in way to give greater control over the lifecycle of informers without breaking current use cases. And then kind of in the doc and in the implementation, I kind of go through how this is used by, this can be used by the factory, both the shared informer factory and the metadata factory. And so, so far I've tested it with controller runtime and with the resource quota controller. But that's kind of wanted to get feedback on this idea now, because there has been kind of feedback around this before. And then that's kind of the main thing. And a smaller second part is that there's also a use case around when certain resources are installed, run one set of informers, otherwise degrade to another set. And this would require some form of tracking event handlers on the informers. And so being able to remove event handlers and see the count of the number of event handlers would also be super useful for that use case, and kind of ties into this kind of idea of greater lifecycle control of the informer's lifecycle. So that's kind of what I've discussed here and have given an implementation for, and just kind of want to open the floor to discussion about.
Thank you, Kevin. Quick question: is this document open to the entire SIG, so people can comment?
Yeah, it should be public. Let me know if there's any issues with that. But
thanks, Kevin. I'm always in favor of fixing the shutdown path, so I think this is great. I'd like anyone on the call who has thoughts to speak up, though.
I would assume that Solly, you're in favor of all these two.
Yeah, yes, definitely. This is a use case that a couple of people have asked for in controller runtime. In addition to the obviously nice closing the loop, pun kind of intended, on resource quota and garbage collector controller.
Do we know who may have opinions against or any concern that we should have to address before moving forward? Like from the threads that you have linked here.
I wouldn't expect anyone to be against this. If anyone is, the only thing that we might see is people who are interested in it and have like some specific desire about how it's done. I guess that's mostly what I would expect in the way of comments.
The only overlapping thing I saw, and this, I thought this was a different issue when you first started going through it, but it's not as related, which is when we get the separate issue, which is when we roll back in the control plane, we restore from an earlier resource version. Basically, every single controller cache is completely invalid, and until either reconciliation or a complete reset happens.
Yes.
I don't really think that anything here overlaps with that, even though I could maybe see someone ask that question, and that's
no. There's actually a way to do that safely. It's complicated though.
I don't want to get into specifics here. I'm just saying. The general problem is that all backups completely invalidate the state of every controller until such a time as they're fully reconciled.
Yes.
So
yeah, no, there's a way to get everybody to refresh.
Okay. Yeah. So we can treat that separately. That was the only one I could think of that someone might want to overlap here.
So there'll be a cap so people can comment on the design.
Yeah, I can roll this into a cap if that's what we want.
Do we need a cap? I mean, how much code is this going to end up being? Or I guess how much interface fluctuation is this going to end up being? And will it break existing clients, or is it like you just update and things continue to work and you just have some additional options?
Yeah, it shouldn't break any additional client or any existing clients. If we, as it's currently proposed, it's just adding a couple methods on the shared informer and not actually changing the behavior of the current existing ones. Maybe long term, that's not what we want. Maybe we want the default behavior to accept these options or something. But I think I don't know, as it's currently written, it's just a few more methods on the shared informer.
Yeah, I might say there's some review comments I would have in where like we want to do that, but I don't think this needs a cap as long as it doesn't break people. And I think all the comments we might have would be like, should this be using more of a context style closure, which is pretty standard now across, like leader election uses context for closure, stuff like that. Like those are the kinds of discussions and then the implications. But I think we could have those in a proposed API change poll and not sprawl into a cap.
Yeah, I feel like a cap would be a little overkill for this.
Sounds good.
You were asking the question about cap. Are you okay with the current the direction?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Very good. So it looks like there is general agreement. People may have some comments on the implementation. So I don't know if we need anything else here. It does feel like green light for you to move on.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, everybody. Let's go to our second topic. Mr. Hawaii, are you here? Yes.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah, a bit robotic and metallic, but we can.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so we found that sorry, I was trying to speak louder. We found that the API server does not validate objects created with duplicate owner reference or get updated to be with duplicate owner references. The concern is that naive clients who unconditionally append owner reference to objects may create huge objects in the system. And we also found that it will break field manager. The field manager won't be able to update the managed fields if clients get such a request. So I bring this to the SIG meeting because I think there might be a debate about how people feel we should fix this. I see two options we can fix it. We either we add validation and reject such requests, which will break clients who does it, or we silently chops the fields and makes the duplicate case gone. The good news is I checked. I think in-tree components. I didn't find any in-tree components that does this. The only client that does this I'm aware of is operator lifecycle management, and I think if people already do this, it's more obvious compared to other API violation, because if they print out the object, they will see on the reference duplicate. So I think that's the good news. Is we don't expect a lot of clients to do this, and if we break clients that does this, we probably won't break a lot of them. Yeah, so I would like to hear an opinion from people about, can we just reject such a request?
Right. Thanks, Howie. Just in case anyone had trouble understanding, your microphone's a little yeah, I don't know what's going on there. Basically, really briefly, we've got it's possible to make duplicate owner references in metadata. We'd like it to not be possible. We've got the choice of rejecting requests and potentially breaking clients sending these, or silently removing duplicates. So we wanted some broader input on which of those two.
I think you have an additional option, right? You have the ability to remove it and return a warning, right? So you remove
yes,
it and you return
yeah. Hopefully, we would return a warning if we silently remove it.
Well, then it's not silent.
Could this cause crash loops for operators that are trying to patch away duplicates?
Hot loops.
Or hot loops, yeah.
Are there any operators trying to remove duplicates?
Well, sorry, let's frame it the other way. Someone has bad code out there today. They're the ones actually contributing to this, and they have some reason that the quote unquote duplicate exists. We change this and they go into infinite loops. Is that enough of a reason that we would treat this as a behavior change and be cautious about rolling it out?
I guess it really depends on the bug that's causing the duplicate. If it's like a race or something and they're not intentionally attempting to make a duplicate, then just silently removing it, or not so silently, but removing it would not be a problem. But if they're intentionally attempting to place it in the list more than once, then they're just going to send those requests over and over again.
I think
yeah.
Make a change, and the question is what change. The choice of change would be either removing it and giving them a warning, or rejecting it. And the question is, which behavior do we think will be easier for clients to handle? I think I'm probably biased towards eliminating the duplicate and giving back a warning.
Yeah, I was leaning towards that one, but now that Clayton has pointed out that you could have clients that
you end up with a hot loop, or you end up stuck.
Yeah.
Certainly we could warn to start with and see it. Do we have, I mean, like adding the warning seems pretty reasonable.
Well, I mean, that part's easy. Even if we gated this functionality off for one release and turned it on later, I'd be okay with that as well. But we still face the problem of what is less.
Yeah, I don't know if the warning is like I'm not I'm definitely in favor of it, but I don't know if it's going to be super useful because most likely the people making or the things making these requests are controllers, and there's no human that's going to be looking at the warning. So
if it's broad enough, somebody would get the warning and spam all their logs, and then they get an alert when their clusters start crash looping because
I mean,
disk space.
What's going to cause that warning to show up in their logs?
Don't we auto print warnings from the client into?
I mean, the example we have linked has known about this issue for like almost a year, and it hasn't been addressed. So like, and it's like an alpha version of it. So that hasn't been recompiled recently. So I don't think it even knows about warnings. So I'm not sure that it's going to show up in their logs.
I mean, we generally bias away from breaking clients unintentionally.
Yeah. What's happening now is the data is being poisoned and it's breaking everyone. So like, it's not we're breaking a client for no reason. If this client is breaking all the clients, and we need to stop it. In some ways, you could even mark this as like a very low severity CVE. Someone who can write an owner ref can hose your cluster.
Yeah, and if they're exactly duplicate, I struggle to think about someone who's doing like in the class of people who might have the logic. If there were some fields that weren't duplicates that were kind of like, you know, they meant the same thing, right? Like two controller refs or whatever that intentionally like had slightly different values but meant the same thing versus completely identical duplicates. It's certainly a smaller subset of those. And I agree, David, like the fact that it could be used to abuse the server may be enough justification just to say, you know, a shorter period of time before we transition into it.
Yeah, I mean, like this intersects with the PR I was looking at for fixing the bad owner refs can delete good children problem, right? Yeah. Because you end up with duplicates, and now how do you choose the next duplicate to check? Like it becomes a mess.
Yeah. Do we have any other examples of where we made a change like this in the past? I feel like there have been a couple where we've stripped identical duplicate entries. It wasn't in metadata, but it was in like status somewhere. Do we do it for conditions?
I don't think we do it for conditions. We did not do it for mvars, as I recall. As I recall, you can still declare duplicate mvars.
Yeah. I think mvars is the big offender on this.
That exists. That doesn't cause as much of a problem because it stays contained to that pod, as opposed to you load up this thing with owner refs, and now the GC controller ends up sticky.
What is this? What is the owner reference field marked as for the purposes of SSA? Like, is it marked as a type of map, or is it just a straight up, like, how are the entries merged? Just because,
I
like,
think it should be a map.
if it is a map of some sort, that might provide extra justification for deduping, because like someone using SSA is going to get the deduping behavior.
Yeah. I guess the question would be is, like a lot of our other, we want to do something that we think is the right thing to do, and it's pretty clear that we should do it. Can we generate enough signal from the community before we trigger destructive or excessive problems? And yeah, like warning one or two, some level of communication with a shorter period does seem like something we've also justified before for other changes of this nature. So
I mean, I think it's justified. I would like to see a warning. I think that's non-controversial. I would probably start by just stripping it. I think it's less abusive to strip the duplicates than it is to flat out reject. because that way like work can still progress, at least hopefully. Right, if you have an updater who's updating something different, you strip the duplicates so you persist, as opposed to updating something different and you can't persist because the owner refs are bad in an object you create the owner refs for. Like that seems like a really unfortunate client effect, doing a straight rejection.
Wouldn't just removing the duplicate not tell the client he did nothing wrong? Yes, there's a warning, but it would do it over and over again. So it would put strain on the survey. If instead of an error, it would run in some backup at some point. Would that be like could still harm other clients if it escalates?
Yeah, it could happen that way, but I like the example we know. It's not like it puts on one duplicate and then stops, right? Like we've got examples where we've seen many more duplicates than that. So we're already in that state, I guess, to some extent. Yeah, okay, I guess I'm leaning towards we should probably just remove the duplicates for people. As much as I'd like to reject requests.
You just I like rejection. If we remove the duplicates, how would we feel about making that default behavior in 120 that can be disabled? We have precedent for that with introducing a pre-deprecated feature gate. And so we would turn it on, pre-deprecate it, indicate we're going to keep it until, I don't know, something reasonable, 122.
Yeah, I'm fine with that, I think. Really, like, I don't think it's going to break very many people. I mean, I don't think it's going to break anybody. So this is mostly a safety mechanism.
Well, pretty sure it breaks the OLM, and I'm going to have to go talk to Evan. But
I mean, if we just remove the duplicate, I think that should still continue to function, right?
I hope so. But yeah, I'd be willing to have a feature gate you can flip off for 2 releases or so.
Okay. Yeah, I think that works for me. Howie, does that sound good to you?
I think we lost Howie.
I did quickly. I can't hear Howie at all. I did look up those SSA merge strategy, and it says merge key is UID and the patch strategy is merge. I don't really know what that means, but I think it means.
Yeah, that's actually not the SSA directive. That's the old strategic merge patch directive. So I do think the dupes we saw were not just UID duplicates; they were everything duplicates.
Yeah.
SSA can have multiple key fields. I'm not sure if it's useful, so we should probably figure out what exactly we want the SSA flags to be.
Anton commented that we treat it as a set right now, and we also had the error in the GitHub issue.
Yeah, so
this should not happen error.
Yeah, so a set would mean that it considers it unique if any field is different, which is not the case that we observed.
Can you hear me now?
Oh yeah, that's much better.
Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, yeah, I can make it drop the field and have a gate on it. And you are proposing that we should validate, we should dedupe if all the fields are the same or if only if the UID are the same. I thought we can just dedupe on the UID. If besides UID fields are different, that also doesn't make sense.
It doesn't, but I feel like it's safer to dedupe on all the fields, not just the UID.
Okay. Yeah.
I think I might leave out controller and block owner deletion.
I might feel safer to start with if it was exact duplicates and then look for. Do we have evidence of non-exact duplicates today?
None, no.
I haven't seen any, but that doesn't mean that there aren't.
Yeah, I mean, like that's one way to split that, because like if you were intentionally using this and you were modifying some fields that actually did make a difference, although I guess I'm struggling a little bit in the use case, that might be more likely to contain those ones that we were worried about before. Whereas exact duplicates, I think it's pretty clear cut. Like there's no value in an exact duplicate on an owner reference. to
Yeah,
the primary
I'm just trying to think what the use case might be. Maybe the use case would be like two different entities both care about the same relationship and might remove it at different times.
But then they would have to be using like exact index. They'd be like, I'm the second exact duplicate in the list, or I'm position X in the list. And I think that just gets into crazy. And those
Yeah,
people, I'm okay with breaking those people.
yeah, I think we're just not going to reference count the edges in the graph. I think I'm okay with that.
Yeah, exact dedupe seems like I mean, like we could always do this, find others using it, and then go back and add different logic in the future using the same argument we used here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, if we only dedupe on exact duplicates, do we have to define the other fields as keys for server-side apply?
I think if it's set as a set right now, that's already the behavior.
Actually,
Okay.
that's a good question.
We should maybe double check.
One of my question is I need to talk with server-side folks about how the field manager, what should be the field manager's opinion about API server dropping fields from the request, because currently I think the field manager ignores any API server defaulting.
Yeah, I think we would pre-treat the request so that field manager should see the request after the duplicates have been dropped.
Okay. And
that would be ideal, yeah.
My last question is, I guess since we are proposing we will put a gate on it, we won't cherry pick this behavior to previous. Although I would prefer we cherry pick this to previous release, but I guess we won't do that.
I would be happy to pull back a change to deliver warnings in previous releases. I think that would be a good idea in 119. I would probably be against pulling the behavior change back to 119.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the most we could do is make it opt-in 119.
I see. Yeah.
So which controller is adding the exact dupes?
It's yeah, I don't know. David, do you know? Can you explain it to us?
Which exact controller it is, I don't know exactly. The only one I know of is in OLM, which is a controller that tries to provide lifecycle features for installing and maintaining operators.
Okay, so in that particular controller, is it a bug from the controller side that's doing that? Oh,
it has to be, right? I mean, it doesn't make any sense to do that.
Yeah, it's a bug, but it's been open for quite a while.
I think,
but even like you know, it shouldn't be possible to have this bug in a controller, right? API server shouldn't let you do this to its data.
I agree.
I'm curious, why is this problem only reviewed now?
Oh, it's just when someone installed it and what we found GC hung, right?
Actually,
right?
It came to our attention. I don't know if I want to say exactly what the what the route was.
Yeah, I think GC wouldn't hung. GC would carry the duplicate and remove the duplicate, right?
Yeah, I verified GC handles duplicate zone reference correctly. It cleans up all the duplicate on reference when the owner is.
For now, I mean, like I've just reviewed the PR that has a comment that says if you have duplicate owner references, weird stuff will happen.
Which PR? So.
Oh, Jordan's PR trying to fix the UID problem.
I see.
So it's a PR we really care a lot about.
Jordan's been tagged in this issue, so he knows about it.
Yeah.
All right. Shall we go on to our last topic, or do we have more to cover on this one? I think we got the answers we need. Are you good, Howie?
Yes. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Daniel. So let's make it super quick so everybody can go back to do their other things. just wanted to go through this list. These are the open enhancements that we have for 120. I don't think we have all the owners here in the call. I spoke with Antoine, and I know Joe and Jenny are here. So looks like built-in API type defaults is good for 120. Hawai,
Yep.
you are the owner of, sorry.
Yeah, it's good.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Hawai Cube API server identity.
Yeah, I think we are on track, and I will update the issue to link to doc and yeah.
Okay. The other 5, I don't think we have Wojciech here in the call, so I can probably check with him offline. Same thing with the other owners, unless I'm not seeing somebody in my screen, or anybody in the call knows the status of the other ones. I will follow.
The only one I don't know anything about is that last one. I don't know what that is or why it's ours. Does anybody know what that is?
I don't recognize that either.
So I mean, it looks like a SIG storage thing. So I don't know why we're tagged in it.
Here we were tagged.
Maybe just accidental?
Yeah, in January. So January last year.
Last year.
Not even this year.
Yeah.
Well, this is what I can do. I can put a comment here, removing ourselves and saying that if they feel that that is incorrect, they can reach to us. So we have one less to worry about. Okay.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Thank you. Last one. Remember, we are a little bit more than a week away from code freeze. I put a link here. You have all the dates. So try to keep that in mind. And then if anybody in this call or anybody of the owners of these features or people that has collaborated is interested in writing a blog post for 120 on their feature, please reach out to me or to Daniel or to David, but start with me. The SIG contributor SIG is interested in finding those people. So keep that in mind. I will try to remind the SIG a couple more times. Okay, that is all I had. Anything else that anybody wants to bring up? If not, I feel we can hold this a meeting. Very good. Thank you, everybody, for showing up.
Yep. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.